Welcome to the Popish Plot. I'm Nate.
And I'm Jessica.
Today we're here to finalize our series on the 7 deadly sins. We've talked about 6 of them so far. Pride, greed, sloth, wrath, envy, and gluttony. And today we're going to finish it out with lust. That's right, we're talking about dirty stuff.
Should we put a little warning for, not letting your small kids listen?
We're probably not actually going to discuss anything that would scandalize your young children, but you may want to consider the possibility that you might not want them in the room for this.
Okay.
I suppose we should probably go and put a disclaimer on it when we post it and stuff.
I'm just saying, this is pretty disclaimery.
Okay, fair enough. So anyways.
Tell us all about what the Latin root word is and such.
I got 2. I couldn't. New Advent didn't have any for lust. Well, barely had an entry for it. I mean, it was not particularly good.
Well, it was an old one, so they're probably like, if we say it, it will make people think things.
Yeah. So, but I did find 2. One came from Wikipedia and Google Translate.
One which is usually very good at things, and one which is horrible. So
yes, luxuria. I'm pretty sure this one's not entirely accurate, and it's probably a mistranslation. The one I found in our actual Latin to English dictionary was libido.
That makes a lot more sense.
Yes.
Yes, there are, English words based off that word that all have to do with similar subjects.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So, however they pronounce it, this is lust, and it's defined in the dictionary as an intense or unbridled sexual desire. Also, it was synonym with lasciviousness.
That is a really big word. I bet if you had that in Scrabble, you'd get so many points.
Oh, so many words. Especially if you got it in just the right spot, because it's long enough that you could probably get like a double and a triple word score in certain places.
I'm just saying, there's a V in it and stuff.
Yeah. But New Advent Catholic Encyclopedia defines it as the inordinate craving for or indulgence of carnal pleasure.
Yeah, I feel like they all kind of agree on this one.
Yeah, it's really the issue is that with regards to lust, there's not really any room for disagreement on it. There are some people who might want to downplay it, and some people who might want to upplay it. But realistically, what it comes to is, if we were to go and use some St. Thomas language, it's an inordinate desire. Mm-hmm. It is a desire for sensual pleasure, for carnal sensual pleasure specifically, because it's not just tasting and touching, but for carnal sensual pleasure that is divorced from right reason.
Mm-hmm. That pretty much describes. We could have done this in one episode and been like, the 7 deadly sins. St. Thomas Aquinas says it's when you have an inordinate desire for a pleasure.
Yeah, really. Well, not all of them are pleasure. Pride and greed. Greed one might equate to pleasure, but anyways. But the important, the interesting things I found on this when in researching it is. While I did say that there's not really a whole lot of room for disagreement, there is a certain aspect to lust that is often not really considered. When we talk about lust and people lusting for things, quite oftentimes it involves a man or woman having an affection for a man or a woman that they are not married to.
That is usually what is used in popular stuff.
Right. But here's the thing. The bit about marriage isn't required.
So you're saying that Ned Flanders was correct when he called up Reverend Lovejoy in the middle of the night to go and yell that he thinks he's lusting after his wife?
I'm fairly certain that Ned Flanders was not lusting after his wife, but yes, it is and I found this both in secular sources as well as in Thomas. It does not require how did he put it? Basically, lust can be found inside a marital relationship as well as being outside of it. So essentially, lust is going to be a little more pervasive than most people give it credit. And really what it boils down to is when you have this level of desire for someone, that you are essentially turning that someone into a thing. They're no longer someone, they are now something, and the only thing that you're seeing them for is for the satisfaction of that desire. So, to Ned Flanders, yes, it is entirely possible to have lustful feelings towards one's wife. I don't think he was, though, simply because I don't think that his feelings toward her were inordinate from right reason with regards to his relationship with her.
No, I'm fairly certain that he simply had affection for his wife in a completely normal and reasonable amount.
Yes.
You know.
And it is completely right and reasonable for two people who are married to each other to have affections and desires for each other. But when we stop looking at them as a partner in these affections and these desires, and we start looking at them as a tool, if you will, towards the satisfaction of these desires, that's when it becomes lust. So, and the one other thing that I found that really kind of stuck in my head is the phrase that the appetite for the object of affection ends up governing the will and the intellect rather than the will and the intellect governing the appetite. That's really the right reason that
Yes, was this from Aquinas?
No, actually I got that little quote off of the Wikipedia page. Mostly because I'm sure if Aquinas had made this reference, he would have made it in some way. I simply, on all the topics I could find on him discussing lust, it was entirely on whether or not it's sinful, whether or not all sexual desire is sinful, all these various varieties of the ways in which lust can manifest. Are they separate things, or are they not distinct from the others? It was very legalistic, his treatment in the Summa towards lust.
That tends to be his style. Plus, if you discuss it that way, then you can talk about lust all you want, and it's not going to cause anyone to fall into that sin.
Especially when you start using words like venereal. I'm not going to define that here. I'm just going to leave that out there. But
I'm pretty sure that he didn't live in an area. Whenever you hear that word, you assume it's followed by disease. Come on, you've never heard that term used in any other aspect. I've never heard that term
used in any other aspect.
I'm sure at one
I know
time
what he's
that was
referring
completely
to.
Normal.
I know what he's referring to when he says it, but in my head, I'm thinking, okay. Mm-hmm. So that's where that term comes from, apparently.
Yes, I'm just instantly picturing, World War II, health videos for people in the military.
Yep. So, anyways. For those of later on this week, we're going to talk about the best weapon against lust, which will be chastity. So I don't really have too much in the way of tips for you right now, simply because I don't want to give away all the stuff from that episode. But at the same time, when you are having these desires, keep in mind that while the natural impulses that cause the desires are not necessarily wrong, the extent, the order in which you give I suppose the amount of power to which you give these desires, though, can be. So think about that as you're going through your lives, and
Or don't, you know.
Or don't think about that. Maybe the best thing for you to avoid
maybe
these
you should
things
read Aquinas on
is
it,
to
and that would
not
just
think
totally
about
help
these
that.
things. But anyways, go down below, hit the subscribe button and the bell next to it so you get notified tomorrow when our next episode comes out. And be noted, Easter ends in just a few more days. Mm-hmm. Sunday is the last day. So if you haven't gotten all caught up on our Easter content, please go and do so. Especially if you are currently in a state of quarantine or social distancing. There's lots of time in the day to be watching the Popish plot.
I mean, we have completely run out of shows on various, things.
Yes, absolutely. We keep getting to the end of entire seasons of shows.
And it's not like that's what we do all day. I have also read, I think 50 books during this time.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
Also, go ahead and, now that we're done with the series on the 7 Deadly Sins, comment below with what animal you think each sin would be. Because we kind of got off track on that because there are very few animals that connect with them besides sloths versus sloths.
And sadly with this one, pretty much all the animals don't actually work. Because, I mean, they kind of do, but they kind of don't. Because they're animals. They are effectively pursuing their animal wills.
Perhaps ferrets, because female ferrets, much like Vulcans, will die if they go into heat and nothing happens.
Interesting. So, ferrets, y'all. And until next time, remember to live your faith.
Love your faith.
And share that love.